The medieval world, stretching from the 5th to the 15th century, was a time of knights, castles, and epic tales. But was it also a time when love bloomed in the most unlikely places? Did devotion and passion truly rise from the shadows, from the very figures we least expected? Prepare to journey through the surprising heart of medieval lore. Number 1. The humble kitchen knave who won a lady's heart. In the glittering halls of Camelot, where King Arthur held court, and the round table shone bright, many a knight sought glory and renown. Yet among these shining figures, sometimes the most profound tales of love and dedication blossomed from the most unexpected soil. Take, for instance, the story of a young man who arrived at Arthur's court, not in gleaming armor but in humble attire, seemingly without a name or a family of note. He was a champion of love, not through grand declarations or poetic verse, but through quiet perseverance, unwavering loyalty, and the simple act of proving his worth when no one else believed in him. This was the tale of Sir Gareth, also known for a time as Beaumains, or Fair Hands. His journey began shrouded in mystery, an enigma who simply appeared before King Arthur on the Feast of Pentecost, a time when the king rarely refused a request. This young man, tall and strong, yet with hands that seemed too delicate for his frame, asked for 2 boons. The first, to be granted food and lodging for a year. The second, kept secret, was to be revealed only when he had served his time. King Arthur, known for his generosity, agreed, and handed the newcomer over to Sir Kay, his seneschal, a knight known more for his sharp tongue and cynical wit than for his compassion. Sir Kay, observing the young man's fair hands, immediately dubbed him Beaumains, the fair-handed one, and assigned him to the scullery, the kitchen, a place of grime and thankless labor. For an entire year, Beaumains toiled in the kitchens of Camelot, enduring the constant taunts and insults of Sir Kay, who never missed an opportunity to ridicule his supposed lack of noble birth or chivalric ambition. Kay's jests were relentless, painting Beaumains as a mere commoner, a glutton, a scullion, unworthy of a knight's attention. Yet through it all, Beaumains never complained. He ate what was given to him. He performed his duties diligently, and he kept his true purpose hidden, a secret burning within his heart. The other knights, even those of the Round Table, mostly ignored him, or simply accepted Kay's harsh assessment. They saw only the servant, not the potential knight. One day, after a year had passed, a maiden arrived at court, her face etched with sorrow and urgency. She sought a champion, a knight, to rescue her sister, the Lady Lyonesse, from the siege laid by the fearsome Red Knight of the Redlands. This Red Knight, a formidable warrior, had vowed to torment Lady Lyonesse until she agreed to marry him, holding her castle captive and slaying any knight who dared to challenge him. Many great knights of the Round Table were present, their armor gleaming, their reputations well established. Yet, when the maiden presented her plea, it was Beaumains, still clad in his kitchen garb, who stepped forward and humbly asked King Arthur for his second long-held boon, to be granted this quest. A ripple of surprise, quickly followed by derisive laughter, spread through the court. Sir Kay scoffed loudly. What? A kitchen knave? A scullion presumed to undertake a quest for a noble lady? He is fit only for scraping pots. The maiden herself, Lady Lyonesse, was horrified. "My lord king," she cried, "send me not with a kitchen boy. This is an insult to my lady sister, who deserves the finest knight in your realm, not a common nobody." Despite the protests and scorn, King Arthur, sensing something deeper in Beaumains' earnest demeanor, granted his request. He ordered that Beaumains be properly armed and given a horse. As Beaumains rode away from Camelot with Lady Lyonesse still berating him for his humble origins and predicting his swift failure, the cynical Sir Kay, unable to resist one last taunt, decided to follow, hoping to witness the kitchen knave's inevitable humiliation. But what Sir Kay and indeed Lady Lyonesse were about to discover was a truth far removed from their prejudiced assumptions. As they rode, Sir Kay suddenly spurred his horse forward, intending to ride down Beaumains and further mock him. However, Beaumains, with a sudden burst of strength and skill that utterly astonished Kay, turned his horse and unseated the arrogant seneschal, taking his horse and armor. Beaumains then tossed Kay's horse back to him, saying, "You gave me the horse, so you should have it back, but I will keep your armor." This single act silenced Kay's jeers and marked the beginning of a remarkable transformation. It was a clear sign that Beaumains was no ordinary servant, but a warrior in disguise. Lady Lyonesse, however, was not so easily convinced. She continued her verbal assault, calling him kitchen knave, coward, and rascal, constantly reminding him of his low station. Her words were sharp and cutting, a constant barrage aimed at his self-esteem. But Beaumains, with an inner strength that defied her insults, simply rode on, his resolve unshaken. He understood that her scorn was born of her fear for her sister and her belief that only a knight of high birth could succeed. He did not argue or retaliate. He simply acted. Their journey was fraught with challenges, and each encounter served to strip away the layers of prejudice surrounding Beaumains. The first test came from the Black Knight, a fearsome warrior who guarded a passage. When the Black Knight demanded to know Beaumains' name and purpose, Lady Lyonesse interjected, "He is a kitchen boy. He has no name of worth." The Black Knight, enraged by the perceived insult of such a low-born challenger, immediately attacked. To Lady Lyonette's astonishment, Beaumains met the charge with skill and power, unhorsing and ultimately defeating the Black Knight, sparing his life only after he pledged fealty. Still, Lady Lyonette's skepticism persisted. She attributed his victory to luck, or perhaps the Black Knight's weakness. They continued their journey, encountering a series of increasingly formidable knights, each guarding a bridge or a pass, and each known by the color of their armor: the Green Knight, the Red Knight, the Puce Knight, and the Indigo Knight. With each encounter, Lady Lyonette's insults continued. But with every victory Beaumains achieved, her contempt began to crack, replaced by a growing, if grudging, respect. He defeated the Green Knight, whose strength was legendary, and then the formidable Puce Knight, who could only be vanquished by a knight of true prowess. The Indigo Knight, too, fell before Beaumains' might. Each time Beaumains' skill and courage were undeniable. What made Beaumains a champion of love in this early stage was not only his martial prowess, but his incredible patience and unwavering commitment to his stated purpose, despite the constant verbal abuse. He was riding to save a lady he had never met, solely on the promise of a quest, and he endured personal humiliation for the sake of chivalry and what he knew was right. He showed that true strength lay not in arrogance but in humility and perseverance. His actions slowly began to chip away at Lady Lyonette's deep-seated prejudice, a prejudice that mirrored the societal norms of the time. Finally, they reached the castle of Lady Lyonesse, which was indeed besieged by the Red Knight of the Redlands. This knight was renowned for his cruelty and his practice of hanging the shields of all the knights he had defeated from a great tree, a stark testament to his fearsome reputation. The Red Knight was truly a terrifying figure, but Beaumains faced him with unyielding determination. The battle that ensued was long and fierce, a brutal clash of steel and will. Both knights fought with incredible strength and skill, their blows echoing across the besieged castle walls. Beaumains, despite his fatigue, fought with a renewed vigor, fueled by the knowledge that the fate of Lady Lyonesse rested on his blade. After hours of relentless fighting, Beaumains, bleeding and exhausted, finally delivered a blow that felled the Red Knight. He was victorious. The siege was lifted and Lady Lyonesse was free. Yet even after this heroic deed, the path to love was not simple for Beaumains. Lady Lyonesse, accustomed to the formality and high standards of noble society, initially still held reservations about this kitchen knave. While she was undeniably grateful for her deliverance, her initial perception of him as a commoner, based on Lady Lyonette's earlier reports, and his humble beginnings, she decided to test him further. To ensure that he was truly worthy of her affection and her noble station, she sent him messages, some praising his valor, others feigning indifference, seeking to gauge his patience and his true intentions. She even arranged for a tournament where Beaumains had to prove his skill against other renowned knights, sometimes even facing them disguised in his own colors, to demonstrate his prowess beyond any doubt. During these tests, Lady Lyonesse, still unsure of his true identity, sometimes presented him with challenges that seemed designed to frustrate or discourage him. However, Beaumains, whose true name was Sir Gareth of Orkney, son of King Lot and Queen Morgause, and thus King Arthur's nephew, though he had kept his lineage secret, met every challenge with the same quiet determination that had marked his journey from the kitchen. He participated in the tournaments, consistently emerging victorious. His skill undeniable. He proved his worth not just on the battlefield, but also in his conduct, his patience, and his unwavering devotion. He showed that his love for Lady Lyonesse was not a fleeting fancy, but a deep, abiding respect and affection that transcended social barriers. His dedication was so profound that even Sir Lancelot, the greatest knight of the Round Table, intervened to ensure Gareth's true identity was revealed and his marriage to Lady Lyonesse was sanctioned by King Arthur. Lancelot, recognizing Gareth's inherent nobility and exceptional chivalry, personally knighted him and spoke passionately. It was only then, with his true lineage revealed and his virtues affirmed by the most respected knights, that Lady Lyonesse fully embraced him, her initial reservations completely dissolved by his proven character and steadfast love. The wedding of Sir Gareth and Lady Lyonesse was a grand affair, celebrated with all the pomp and ceremony worthy of a knight of the Round Table and a noble lady. Their union was a testament to a love that defied expectations, a love that blossomed not from predetermined social standing, but from genuine merit, courage, and perseverance. Sir Gareth, the kitchen knave, the Beaumains, had championed love by simply being himself, a noble spirit disguised by humble circumstances, proving that true worth and the potential for deep affection can be found in the most unexpected of places, true unwavering dedication, and pure heart. His story shines as a reminder that love's champions are not always those who begin on a pedestal, but sometimes those who earn their way through sheer force of character. And he championed not just his own love, but the very idea that love can conquer all, even the rigid social structures of the medieval world, simply by holding true to what is good and honorable. He showed that the worth of a lover lies not in their birth, but in their deeds, their patience, and their unwavering commitment to their beloved, proving through every trial that his heart was true and his intentions pure, ultimately securing a love that was hard-won and deeply cherished. Number 2, the sorceress who forged love through fiery trials. In the complex tapestry of Arthurian legends, few figures loom as large and as enigmatic as Morgan le Fay. Often portrayed as a dark enchantress, a bitter enemy of King Arthur, and a practitioner of forbidden magic. Her name conjures images of deception, betrayal, and dark machinations. She is frequently depicted as a villain, a force of chaos against the Order of Camelot, whose spells bring misfortune and whose plots seek to undermine the very foundation of the Round Table. Yet within some lesser-known veins of medieval lore, or through a particular lens of interpretation, Morgan le Fay of love, but in her own twisted way, a champion of. She champions love by testing it, by pushing lovers to their absolute limits, stripping away pretense and revealing the true depths of their fidelity and devotion. Her trials, though often cruel and seemingly malicious, serve as crucibles in which true love is forged and purified. Consider her actions not as random acts of malice, but as a series of intense, almost academic experiments designed to separate the superficial from the profound, in matters of the heart. Morgan, with her keen intellect and mastery of illusion, often set traps or challenges that forced knights and ladies to confront their own loyalties and desires. She was not interested in easy love, the kind that blossoms from mere physical attraction or convenience. Instead, she sought to uncover the kind of love that could withstand hardship, betrayal, and the allure of temptation. Her magic, therefore, became a tool for revelation, a dark mirror held up to the human heart. One of the most famous examples of Morgan Le Fay's influence on the landscape of love, albeit in a highly indirect and manipulative way, can be seen in her interactions with Sir Lancelot. Lancelot, renowned as the greatest knight of the world, was deeply, tragically, and famously in love with Queen Guinevere, King Arthur's wife. This forbidden love was the beating heart and ultimate downfall of Camelot. Morgan Le Fay, with her own complicated relationship with Arthur and Guinevere, often fueled by jealousy and a desire for power, frequently used her magic to complicate Lancelot's life. But these complications inadvertently tested the very strength of his devotion. On one occasion, Morgan used her enchantments to capture Lancelot. She brought him to her castle, where she, along with 3 other powerful enchantresses, held him prisoner. Their intention was to persuade him to choose one of them as his lover, abandoning his loyalty to Guinevere. They presented him with an ultimatum: pick one of them or face perpetual imprisonment. This was a direct assault on his fidelity, a profound test of his love for the queen. Lancelot, despite the grave danger and the enticing beauty of his captors, remained steadfast. He refused them all, declaring his unyielding devotion to Queen Guinevere. He famously stated that he would rather die than betray his lady. This seemingly cruel imprisonment, orchestrated by Morgan, served as a powerful validation of Lancelot's love. It was not a superficial affection that could be swayed by fear or temptation. It was a deep, unshakable bond. Morgan, through her very attempt to break his fidelity, inadvertently highlighted its unbreakable nature. She put Lancelot's love through a fiery trial, and it emerged not consumed but purified and strengthened. In this context, her role is not that of a simple antagonist, but a dark alchemist of affection, distilling true passion from the dross of lesser desires. Furthermore, Morgan often manipulated events and perceptions, creating scenarios that forced other characters to make stark choices about their allegiances and affections. She used her magic to create illusions, to trick knights into revealing their true feelings, or to put lovers in positions where their commitment was undeniably tested. For example, in tales where knights are subjected to her enchantments, they often find themselves in situations where their honesty, courage, and faithfulness are scrutinized. Her methods are not gentle, often involving deception, coercion, or even magical transformation. But the underlying goal sometimes seems to be to expose truth, even if it is a harsh truth. Consider the narrative elements where Morgan sends enchanted items like shields or rings that reveal the wearer's true character or intentions. While these might seem like devices of malice, they function as truth-tellers, forcing characters to confront their inner selves, including their romantic inclinations. If a knight wears an enchanted item that exposes his disloyalty or his secret desire for another lady, it is Morgan's magic that brings this truth to light. In a world where courtly love often involved complex codes of conduct and veiled affections, Morgan's magic acted as a kind of magical X-ray, stripping away the polite veneer to reveal the emotional skeleton beneath. By exposing false love or wavering commitment, she indirectly championed true love. By clearing the path for genuine connections to be recognized or allowing lessons to be learned from betrayal. Even her personal relationships, complex and often fraught with anger or ambition, hinted at a deeper, though perhaps distorted understanding of love. Her love for Arthur, often overshadowed by her animosity, was a tangled mix of sibling rivalry, resentment, and a desire for recognition. In some versions of the legend, it is Morgan who takes Arthur to Avalon after his final battle, a gesture that, while perhaps shrouded in mystery, implies a form of care or responsibility that transcends simple hatred. If she cares for Arthur in this way, even in a grudging or duty-bound manner, it suggests a capacity for complex attachment. And if she holds such complex attachments, she may understand the true nature of love in others, even if she expresses that understanding through harsh trials. Morgan Le Fay's role in the Arthurian saga, therefore, is not merely that of a villain. She is a figure of immense power and profound psychological depth. Her championship of love is not one of gentle guidance or benevolent assistance. Instead, it is a fierce, almost brutal form of advocacy. She champions love by making it difficult, by creating obstacles that only the most genuine and resilient affections can overcome. By forcing characters to confront their deepest desires and prove their fidelity under duress, she acts as a gatekeeper of true passion, ensuring that only the most robust and authentic loves survive her stringent tests. In this sense, every heartbreak she causes, every betrayal she exposes, every fidelity she strengthens under pressure serves to uphold a higher, perhaps brutal, standard for love. She is a champion who doesn't help. Love flourished gently, but rather sharpens it like a blade, making it strong enough to pierce through any deception. Her magic, though often feared, is ultimately a force that reveals truth, even if that truth is painful, paving the way for love that is truly earned and truly enduring. She tests, she proves, and in doing so, she carves out a space for profound and unwavering affection in a world often marked by fleeting passions and fragile loyalties. Her methods are unconventional, her intentions often seem dark, but the result is a fierce vindication of love's enduring power. Number 3. The king bound by honor and heartbreak. In the medieval lore of Tristan and Isolde, a tale woven with threads of forbidden passion, betrayal, and tragic fate, the figure of King Mark of Cornwall stands as the archetypal wronged husband. He is often painted as the cuckolded monarch, a jealous, sometimes petty, figure whose actions drive the plot towards its inevitable, sorrowful conclusion. He is seen as the obstacle to the true love of Tristan and Isolde, the villain who separates the star-crossed lovers. Yet to dismiss King Mark as merely an antagonist is to overlook the deeply complex, often agonizing love that in his own tormented way he becomes an unexpected, if tragic, champion of a love that ultimately consumes him. His love is possessive, yes, and often misguided, but it is undeniably powerful and drives many of his actions, making him a central, if heartbreaking, figure in this epic of passion. King Mark's connection to Isolde begins in a way that for him signifies a profound bond. He sends his beloved nephew Tristan to Ireland to fetch Isolde, the beautiful princess, to be his bride. This act is not simply a political marriage. For Mark, Isolde represents a vision of happiness, a chance at profound companionship, and a future where he can finally experience deep affection. When Tristan arrives back with Isolde, Mark is immediately captivated by her beauty and grace. He truly desires her, and his heart is set on making her his queen. His marriage to Isolde, unlike many royal unions of the time, is depicted with a genuine emotional investment on his part. He is a man who seeks love and companionship, and he believes he has found it in Isolde. The tragedy, of course, is the love potion. Potion consumed by accident by Tristan and Isolde on their voyage back to Cornwall binds them in an irresistible fated passion. Mark, unaware of this magical intervention, believes that Isolde is truly his, and he pours his heart into their marriage. He loves her deeply, truly. This is where his unexpected role as a champion of love begins to emerge. He is a king with duties and responsibilities, yet his emotional life is profoundly impacted by his desire for Isolde. He champions his own love for her, seeking to possess it, to make it his own, to build a life around it, even when the currents of fate and the lover's secret passion conspire against him. His love for Isolde is not a cold, calculating desire for a queen. It is a genuine, if sometimes possessive, affection. When rumors of Tristan and Isolde's secret meetings begin to circulate, Mark's initial reaction is not purely tyrannical anger, but profound pain and confusion. He is a man betrayed, not just in his honor as a king, but in his very heart. He is torn between his deep affection for Isolde and the crushing evidence of her infidelity. This internal conflict, his deep anguish, shows the immense weight of his love for her. A man who did not love would simply punish. Mark agonizes. He seeks confirmation. He tries to understand. He desperately wants to believe in Isolde's faithfulness because her love is so important to him. Consider the famous scene where Tristan and Isolde are discovered by Mark in an orchard, asleep with Tristan's sword laid between them, a symbol of their chastity in that moment. Mark, seeing the sword, is temporarily swayed. He removes his ring from Isolde's finger and replaces it with his own, a silent message of his continued affection and a plea for her fidelity. He also swaps Tristan's sword for his own, leaving a subtle sign that he was there but chose not to kill them. This act is not one of a jealous tyrant, but of a deeply wounded man who, despite overwhelming evidence, cannot bring himself to condemn the woman he loves or his beloved nephew. He champions a fragile hope for their reformation, a desperate desire to restore the love and trust that he believed they once shared. This is a profound, if agonizing, act of love. He is choosing to believe, choosing to forgive, hoping against hope that his love for Isolde can mend the broken bonds. Throughout the various versions of the legend, Mark repeatedly tries to reconcile with Isolde, sometimes exiling Tristan, sometimes taking Isolde back after a period of separation. His actions, while often leading to further heartbreak and the escalation of the tragedy, are driven by his tormented love. He cannot simply cast her aside because his heart remains bound to her. He may accuse her, he may rage, but he always returns to the desire for her presence, for the love he believes should be his. He sends messengers, he makes pleas. He tries to understand the inexplicable pull that seems to draw his queen away from him. His attempts, however futile, are a constant affirmation of his profound attachment to Isolde. He is a champion of his own love, relentlessly pursuing it, seeking to reclaim it, even when it is demonstrably denied to him. Mark is not a figure who champions romantic love in the conventional sense, of helping lovers find happiness. Instead, he champions his own possessive tragic love for Isolde. He holds on to it fiercely, even as it causes him immense suffering. His actions, born of this painful love, inadvertently elevate the central theme of love's overwhelming power. In the narrative, without Mark's persistent desire, his repeated attempts to assert his claim, the story of Tristan and Isolde would lack much of its dramatic tension and emotional depth. He is the immovable object against the irresistible force of their fated passion, and his very resistance highlights the strength of that passion. In a sense, Mark's love is a mirror, reflecting the destructive power of love when it collides with social order and individual desires. He is a king who, despite his power, is utterly helpless before the force of an enchantment and the overwhelming passion of others. His love for Isolde, however painful it becomes, defines him and shapes his destiny. He is bound by his feelings for her, driven by them to make choices that often lead to more anguish, yet he cannot escape them. He is the unexpected champion of a love that is possessive, heartbroken, and ultimately tragic, but undeniably real and deeply felt. His story reminds that love can be a source of immense suffering and torment, yet remain a dominant driving force in a person's life, leading them to act in ways they might never have imagined, all in pursuit of a connection that perhaps was never truly theirs to begin with. He fights for his love, not with a sword against an enemy, but with his very being against a fate that denies him the affection he so desperately craves. He is a king undone by the very emotion he seeks to claim, a poignant and complex figure whose heartbreak oozed the profound and often devastating power of love in the medieval imagination. Number 4. The fierce mother of the fens. When we think of champions of love in medieval lore, our minds often turn to knights riding on quests for their ladies, or noblewomen pining for their absent lords. We might envision scenes of courtly romance or even the intense devotion of spiritual love. But what about the shadowy figures, the monstrous beings lurking at the edges of human civilization, whose very existence seems to defy all notions of tenderness? Among these, one stands out, an unexpected champion of a love so primal, so fierce, that it drives her to acts of terrifying vengeance. Grendel's mother from the epic poem Beowulf. She is not a champion of romantic love, nor of a love that seeks harmony or peace. Instead, she embodies the raw, untamed, and utterly profound love of a mother for her child. A bond so strong it compels her to confront a legendary hero in a brutal, bloody fight for justice. In the ancient Germanic world, as depicted in Beowulf, the mere mention of Grendel, the monstrous descendant of Cain, sent shivers down the spines of warriors. Grendel was a creature of pure malice, a nocturnal predator who stalked the halls of Heorot, King Hrothgar's grand mead hall, devouring unsuspecting Danes. His reign of terror lasted for 12 years, a period of unrelenting fear and sorrow. Beowulf, a mighty Geatish warrior, arrived to liberate Hrothgar's people, and in a legendary unarmed battle, he tore off Grendel's arm, mortally wounding the beast. Grendel retreated to his lair beneath the murky waters of the fens, bleeding to death. The Danes rejoiced, believing their torment was finally over. But deep beneath the desolate moors in a dark and terrible mere, Grendel had a mother. Her name is never given in the poem. She is simply Grendel's mother, a creature defined by her offspring. This lack of a personal name only intensifies her connection to her son, making her a symbol of pure, unadulterated maternal bond. When Grendel, maimed and dying, finally reached their underwater cave, his mother found him. The sight of her dying son, the last of her kin, brought forth not pity, but an incandescent rage, a grief so profound it manifested as an unstoppable drive for retribution. She was not a monster, acting purely out of innate evil. She was a mother reacting to the death of her child. This is where her unexpected role as a champion of love truly emerges. Her love for Grendel, monstrous though he was absolute. It was a love that transcended morality, a love that knew no bounds of reason or civility. It was a love that demanded vengeance. The poem states that she was grief-stricken, ravenous, and grim. Her motive was clear: to avenge the death of her son. She did not seek to continue Grendel's random slaughter of the Danes. Her target was specific: the one who had taken her child. That night, Grendel's mother emerged from her desolate home. She crept into Heorot, still celebrating Beowulf's victory, and carried out a swift, devastating attack. She seized Ishar, Hrothgar's most trusted advisor and friend, and dragged him away, leaving behind a trail of blood and renewed terror. Her actions were brutal, yes, but they were not senseless. They were driven by a very specific and deeply personal kind of love. She was a mother reclaiming what she believed was owed to her: a life for a life. She was not a champion of human love or societal bonds, but of the fierce, instinctive love that binds a parent to a child, even a monstrous child. Beowulf once again was called upon to face a terrible foe. The trail of Esher's blood led him and his warriors to the nightmarish mere, a place of boiling waters, coiling serpents, and malevolent spirits. This was Grendel's mother's domain, her sacred space, the place where her love and grief had festered. Beowulf plunged into the dark waters, diving deep into the monster's lair, a place of unimaginable horrors. The fight between Beowulf and Grendel's mother in her underwater hall is one of the most vivid and intense sequences in the poem. It is a battle fueled by raw power and clashing wills. Beowulf, for the first time, finds himself at a disadvantage. His sword, hunting given to him by Unferth, proves useless against her skin. She is a formidable opponent, her strength and ferocity born from her immense grief and maternal fury. She grapples with him, pulls him to the ground, and attempts to stab him with a broad, keen dagger. Beowulf is saved only by his mail shirt, which protects him from her deadly blows. In that moment, she is not just a monster. She is a mother fighting for the last scrap of her world. Her blows are desperate. Fueled by the memory of her dying son, Beowulf, fighting for his life, eventually sees a massive, ancient sword on the wall, forged by giants. With a surge of strength, he seizes it and brings it down upon Grendel's mother, severing her head. Even after her death, Beowulf ensures that Grendel's body too is decapitated, a final, definitive end to the monstrous lineage. Grendel's mother's role as an unexpected champion of love lies precisely in her raw, unfiltered, and destructive devotion. In a world often dominated by masculine heroism and tales of conquest, her narrative reminds the audience that love, in its most basic and instinctual form, is a powerful, universal force. It is not limited to human beings, or to the realm of courtly romance. It exists even in the darkest, most terrifying corners of the world, in the heart of a creature deemed monstrous. Her love for Grendel, however twisted in its outcome, is undeniably genuine. It is a love that demands recognition, a love that fuels an epic battle, and a love that ultimately costs her life. She champions the idea that love, even if it leads to violence and tragedy, is a fundamental motivator, capable of driving any being to extraordinary, terrifying lengths to protect or avenge what they hold dear. Her story, therefore, is a stark and powerful testament to the overwhelming, primal, and sometimes terrible beauty of maternal devotion, a love that resonates deeply, even from the swampy depths of a medieval epic. Number 5. The Hermit Who Whispered Truths to Wavering Hearts. In the sprawling, often bewildering landscape of medieval Arthurian romances, knights embarked on countless quests facing dragons, dark enchantments, and treacherous foes. But often the greatest challenges were spiritual and moral, testing their souls as much as their swords. When knights found themselves lost, not just in dense forests but in the labyrinthine pathways of their own hearts, they frequently sought guidance from a most unexpected source of wisdom and clarity, the hermit. These reclusive figures, living ascetic lives, far removed from the bustling courts and worldly desires, might seem unlikely champions of love. They had renounced earthly pleasures, choosing solitude and spiritual devotion. Yet paradoxically, it was often the hermits, with their deep understanding of the human spirit and their connection to divine truth, who offered insights that guided knights towards true love, helped them navigate its pitfalls or understand its profound, often sacred nature. Their championing of love was not through passionate declarations, but through quiet wisdom, spiritual interpretation, and a profound, detached understanding of the soul's desires. Consider the extensive Vulgate cycle, also known as the Lancelot Grail cycle, a vast collection of interconnected Arthurian narratives from the 13th century. Within these tales, particularly the quest for the Holy Grail, hermits appear frequently, not as passive bystanders but as active guides. Knights like Lancelot, Percival, and Bors often find themselves spiritually adrift, their worldly pursuits and earthly loves conflicting with their higher calling. It is in these moments of spiritual confusion that a hermit's counsel becomes invaluable. One might imagine a knight after a long and arduous journey dismounting before a simple hermitage, its walls covered in ivy, a thin curl of smoke rising from its chimney. He would be exhausted, perhaps wounded, but more importantly burdened by the internal turmoil of his soul. He might be struggling with a forbidden love like Lancelot's devotion to Guinevere, or trying to understand the spiritual implications of his desires. The hermit, often depicted as old and frail, yet with piercing eyes full of ancient wisdom, would welcome the knight. He would not offer a potion to solve a romantic dilemma or a spell to win a lady's heart. Instead, he would offer something far more profound: truth. The hermits in these tales were masters of spiritual interpretation. They could unravel dreams, explain visions, and, most importantly, elucidate the true meaning of a knight's experiences. For a knight struggling with earthly love, the hermit might explain how that love, if it was pure and selfless, could be a path to a higher, divine love. Or if the love was sinful or selfish, the hermit would gently but firmly point out its corrupting influence, urging the knight towards a love that uplifted rather than ensnared. This was not a condemnation of love itself, but a guidance towards a more virtuous expression of it. For example, when Lancelot struggles with his intense and illicit love for Queen Guinevere, a love that makes him falter in his quest for the Holy Grail, he often encounters hermits. These hermits, unlike the worldly courtiers, see beyond the external glamour of his affair. They see the spiritual cost. They do not preach damnation. Instead, they gently explain how his love for Guinevere, while powerful, is preventing him from achieving the highest spiritual perfection. They interpret his dreams and visions, showing him how his earthly desires are hindering his quest for the Grail. In this way, they champion a purer form of love, a love that aligns with spiritual aspirations, urging Lancelot to recognize the true nature of his affections and their impact on his soul. They want him to achieve a love that is truly fulfilling, even if it means acknowledging the limitations of his current romantic entanglement. Their counsel, though difficult to hear, was always intended to guide him towards a love that was ultimately more complete and spiritually enriching. Similarly, in tales of Sir Percival, a knight whose journey is often marked by innocence and later by spiritual growth, hermits play a crucial role in his understanding of love, both earthly and divine. They teach him about compassion, about the interconnectedness of all things, and about the importance of selfless service. They explain how his past failures, sometimes born from selfish desires or a lack of understanding, can be redeemed through acts of genuine love and humility. The hermits highlight how true love is not about possession or fleeting passion, but about empathy, sacrifice, and a deep respect for the beloved and for God. They champion love by elevating it, showing its potential to be a powerful force for good, a divine spark within the human heart. The hermit's understanding of love extended beyond simple romantic entanglements. They understood the love for one's fellow man, the love for God, and the love for truth. By helping knights align their actions with these higher forms of love, they indirectly influence their romantic relationships as well. A knight who truly loved God and his neighbor was more likely to engage in a virtuous and enduring earthly love. Their championing of love was holistic, encompassing all its forms and guiding individuals towards its most beneficial expressions. They were the moral compasses of the medieval soul, quietly pointing towards love's true north. Their methods were simple: dialogue, reflection, and the wisdom of their spiritual lives. They lived outside the complex social hierarchies and moral compromises of the court, giving them an unclouded perspective. They were not swayed by status or wealth, only by the truth of the heart. When a knight confessed his romantic woes or moral dilemmas to a hermit, he received not judgment but profound insight, a path forward that recognized the power of his emotions while also guiding him toward ethical and spiritual integrity. They provided a sanctuary where love in all its messy complexity could be examined and understood from a higher vantage point. Thus, the medieval hermit, often seen as a figure detached from the world, emerges as a quiet but potent champion of love. They didn't fight battles for ladies' favors or compose lyrical odes. Instead, they fought for the integrity of the soul and the purity of the heart. They whispered truths in times of confusion, revealing how love, when understood and pursued virtuously, could be a dutying force, capable of elevating the human spirit and drawing it closer to the divine. Their championing of love was a testament to its profound and multifaceted nature, reminding medieval audiences that even in solitude one could gain the deepest insights into the very emotion that drove the world. They were guardians of the heart's compass, ensuring that knights in their quest for glory and love did not lose their way.